The Galactic Council had labeled planet Zerath-7 as irredeemably hostile 3 cycles ago. The verdict was unanimous across 47 species. Any beings condemned there would face certain death within weeks. The atmosphere was toxic, the wildlife deadly, and the terrain unforgiving. It was the perfect prison for the galaxy's worst offenders. No one expected anyone to survive there, especially not Kivan, the human smuggler whose reputation preceded him across 12 star systems. Commander Thexler of the Draconian Guard stood before the Council's observation deck. Her scaled features twisted in disbelief as she watched the live feed from Zerath-7. The human wasn't just alive, he was thriving. And he wasn't alone. "Zoom in," she commanded, her voice barely a whisper. The image focused on a makeshift settlement carved into the side of a mountain. Solar panels cobbled together from crashed ship parts provided power. A water filtration system hummed beside what appeared to be a greenhouse. And there, in the center of it all, Kivan sat cross-legged, telling stories to 2 young draconian females who gazed at him with absolute adoration. "Those are the princess's daughters," Thexler breathed. "Gull and her sister. They were condemned alongside him. The Council had made that decision coldly. When Princess Shaori defied the Treaty of 9 Suns by harboring human refugees, her punishment was exile. Her twin daughters, barely 15 cycles old, were deemed complicit. The human smuggler who'd transported those refugees, Kivan, was sentenced to watch over them until they inevitably perished together. It was meant to be a slow death, a lesson about the consequences of breaking galactic law. 3 months later, they were building a civilization. Kivan had always been called irresponsible. He'd lost cargo, forgotten deliveries, and once accidentally sold a shipment of medical supplies as exotic spices. His ship, the Wayward Sun, was held together with duct tape and prayers. He'd never held a job longer than 6 months, never saved a credit, and never planned beyond his next meal. But on Zerath-7, something changed. Maybe it was the way Gull looked at him that first night, her silver scales dulled by fear, asking if they would die here. Maybe it was how her sister had clutched his jacket. This human stranger who was their only companion in hell. Maybe it was simply that, for the first time in his chaotic life, someone needed him. Kivan built them a shelter from debris. When the toxic rains came, he fashioned breathing masks from ship filters. When the native predators attacked, he learned their patterns and created defenses. Every failure taught him something new. Every setback made him more determined. "Papa Kivan, tell us about Earth again," Gull would say each evening, her amber eyes reflecting the firelight. He'd tell them about blue skies and oceans, about cities that touched the clouds, about a species that refused to quit even when the universe told them they couldn't survive. And in telling those stories, he became the hero of them. The Draconian girls learned from him. Gull, clever and quick, mastered the salvage operations, finding treasures in the wreckage of failed prison transports. Her sister became their hunter, using Kivan's improvised weapons to bring down game he'd analyzed from the local ecosystem. Together, they didn't just survive. They flourished. Thexlar continued watching the feed, her military mind struggling to comprehend what she was seeing. The human had constructed a working communication array, limited but functional. He'd mapped the safe zones across 300 square kilometers. He'd cataloged edible plants and dangerous wildlife. He'd created a home. "He's teaching them engineering," one council member observed, his tentacles twitching with agitation. "Human methods." "Reckless human methods," another corrected. "Look at that power coupling. It violates 6 safety protocols." "And yet it works," Thexler said quietly. The feed showed Kivan laughing as Gull successfully activated a makeshift shield generator. She threw her arms around him, her scales shimmering with joy. Her sister joined the embrace, and the 3 of them stood there, this bizarre family forged in the crucible of a prison planet. "The princess is demanding an extraction," a council aide announced. "She's threatening war if her daughters aren't returned." The council chamber erupted in debate. Extraction was possible but would set a dangerous precedent. But leaving them risked conflict with the Draconian Empire, and there was another problem, one no one wanted to acknowledge. "If we extract them," Thexler said, cutting through the noise, "they'll want to bring the human." Silence fell. Galactic law was clear. Kivan's sentence was permanent exile. No exceptions. But the 2 young Draconians who'd been condemned alongside him had done something unprecedented. They'd bonded with their human captor as family. On Zerath 7, Kevin had no idea his actions were being broadcast across the galaxy. He was too busy showing Gull how to calculate optimal solar panel angles while her sister prepared dinner from the day's hunt. He was too focused on weatherproofing their shelter before the storm season, too invested in teaching them the mathematics they'd need to eventually repair the old shipwreckage he'd found. He'd been called irresponsible his entire life, lazy, unreliable, a failure by every conventional measure. But here, on this forgotten rock at the edge of known space, Kevin had become something else entirely. He'd become a father, a teacher, a survivor, not because he'd planned it or prepared for it, but because two young dragon girls needed him to be. And humanity, in its infinite stubborn glory, had never learned how to quit on someone who needed them. As the council debated and Princess Shaori rallied her fleet, Kevin taught his daughters how to dream of stars they might someday reach together. Because that's what humans did. They made the impossible ordinary, turned exile into home, and found family in the unlikeliest places. No one had imagined the galaxy's most irresponsible human could be a father. They'd all underestimated what that meant.